Rendezvous for Beirut. Hi, my name is Madjam. I'm a DJ that's based out of Beirut since 1991. Moved here with my family when I was 10 years old. The country just got out of the midst of a civil war, and I saw it get rebuilt. I saw the nightlife unite people like no other scene ever has. And of course, the glory of this nightlife grew to be such big clubs all across the nation. August 4th, 2020 is when all of that changed. It was leading up to so many dramas, so many problems that we had leading up to that. But it was only after August 4th, 2020 where things really started to change, especially for all of us that work in nightlife and of course across the clubs. Beirut nightlife has one of the best scenes around the world, with loyal followers, and it suffered over the last couple of years with financial trouble, a change in government system, but nightlife was initially exempt. But it really started to get affected at the end of 2019 with political, economic, local currency, triple exchange rate, hyperinflation, you name it, and then came the pandemic. And on top of that, August 4th, the blast that could not have come at a more worse time. Destroyed lives, homes, museums, heritage, and most of all, the bars, restaurants, and clubs. 220 people have died, 6,000 injured, 10 are still unaccounted for, and 300,000 people lost their homes. 40,000 buildings were damaged or fully destroyed, all in a matter of seconds. More than 450 businesses have shut down in the months before the blast. The situation only got exacerbated by the blasts and the fires following August 4th. Owners, staff, artists, everyone directly or indirectly involved with leisure, tourism, and entertainment all lost their jobs. Zero government support. Rendezvous for Beirut, a joint collaboration with Chronicles and Idea Production. Fundraiser for Human Dignity Union, bringing together Lebanese from all social, economic, and demographic backgrounds to restore Lebanese dignity. And Beitna Beitak, a local initiative that started to secure housing for healthcare professionals during the pandemic, but now shifted its priority to relocating thousands of families displaced by the massive blast that happened right here in Beirut. Today, we're talking all things in the Lebanese music industry. It was dodging all kinds of issues over the years, but has now hit ultimate rock bottom. And a key player in the industry nightlife all across the world, without a doubt, is suppliers. And here in Lebanon, we have suppliers who do everything from concerts to weddings to, of course, some of the biggest and best clubs that we have in our country. Sitting with me right here, we have my good friend Woody Nawfal from Wicked Solutions. Hi, Woody.
Hello.
How's it going, my man?
Good.
And Fouad Bechwati from 21dB.
Hey.
Both of these guys I've known since the 90s. We've been in and out of the industry back when rock music was a thing. So Woody, how did you get started?
Well, it all started like I was DJing at a rock bar, and then they needed some mics, and then I got the mics, and I started renting out the mics. And that was it. Like, it all went like a snowball, and till now, it's been like 20 years.
Over 20 years. And I remember when a lot of the suppliers, Lebanon had some issues in the 2000s when a lot of suppliers moved to the Gulf. And they said, oh, okay, well, enough with Lebanon, and that was 20 years ago. Woody strongly believed that, Lebanon's a place, it's home, we still need a place, venues still need supports, and so that was why you stayed here all this time, right? You didn't ever think about leaving.
No, we didn't think about leaving until now. Now we're not leaving, we're expanding to the AE, we're expanding to maybe Europe. But here the scene needs support, and we always supported the scene. We always supported local artists, especially like during the rock days. Even they had like bands, like CD launches, and the scene was small and started growing up. Then we switched to electronic music, and it's good.
Still going.
Still going, yeah. Except now for everything that's going on. I hate the camera.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, Woody's normally the guy behind the camera with the sound dudes, but it's good to finally have you on camera as well. And Fouad also is a very good friend, been in the music business, I think, family generations as well. And you also, if I remember correctly, we used to be on MSN Messenger, and we used to talk when he was still in Scotland because he studied acoustic treatment with some engineer. So Fouad, what exactly did you do?
I studied the physics of sound, actually, technically. But before that, I was in a doom metal band. So
Yeah.
to go back to that, I mean, I started in doom metal as well, you know.
Yeah, I remember.
Those were where I started as well, you know, and then I got deep and deep into studying sound, and then spent 9 years in the UK, and then set up 21dB in Beirut because I also realized that the scene needs support from different sides, you know, like getting a club to sound as acutely as possible, you know, as cleanly as possible was something that lacked in Lebanon. And we saw an opportunity and started 21dB 10 years ago.
So 21dB does everything from consulting, starting with acoustics, to installing, to brands as well.
We're mainly consultants that design structures like the one we're sitting underneath. We design the technicality, the technical uses of structures to be able to block sound, like in the place of this club or ARM, for example, which also got destroyed. And we do architectural acoustic simulations, so we do the interior of spaces, the sound quality of an interior of space, and we do sound consultancy, which is the tuning of a sound system, where it should be installed, which type, which brand. And we have some brands that we work with that we like to work with more than others because we know them or we know them to be good enough to work with as well.
And you also did some consulting specifically for where we are right here at Uberhaus The Gärten, because over the years there were challenges. The club originally started as a dome, and it was wide open air, and it was just a free-for-all Wild West until some of these hotels right here on the waterfront opened up. And I believe there were some interesting stories that you have about that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was almost a lawsuit between the hotel and the club, and the guys, Nimar and Ali, came to me like, okay, Fouad, you know, we meet officially. We had the brief encounter in their original Uberhaus in Hamra, but they came to me and was like, okay, we have Houston, we have a problem. And they wanted to still keep an outdoor club, but protect themselves from the hotel behind them. And this is by far the riskiest project we've ever undertook, you know. And to be able to design a structure that's open air, still open air, feels like an open air club, but protect them from the hotel behind them. And I can see it sitting today with a lot of sadness in my eyes to see like the damage, you know. It's the first time I'm here, and it was on purpose, you know. I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't know it was going to be that hard, actually.
Especially because it took a lot of work from the designing perspective in advance, right? Because there would have been problems with the hotels who were all complaining about the sound, and took, I think, 3-4 months worth of designing and installing.
Yeah, the design was, I mean, the guys came to me, was like, how can we guarantee that it's going to work? It's an open air. I was like, guys, you can't guarantee it's an open air club. So we designed the structure, we worked on a structure so that it's large enough to be able to have as many panels as we can in order to block the sound. And with the guys, with the agreement with the guys, we said that, okay, let's start building it and then keep it at the minimum kind of coverage area for the panels and see how it's going to work, you know. And I remember the trial night, I was in the hotel, and I mean, it was insane what happened.
Couldn't hear anything.
I couldn't hear anything up there. I called Nimar and I hear on the phone. It's like, okay, it's working.
And that's for a club like this that was running for 3-4 nights a week. You know, it was very essential that, you know, the acoustics had to be done correctly and stuff. What other challenges have you faced in the years leading up to 2019?
The market readiness. I mean, the culture was not there for an acoustic solution to a club. You know, I mean, it's still not there in a lot of places in the world. It's not. Take Berlin, for example. Berlin is known for a club culture not because of the sound quality. It's known because of the diversity of the music and the you know the creativity in music. But go into any of the big clubs, the big names, and I won't name any, but I mean the acoustics are like really bad.
Absolute zero.
So there was no culture for it, so we had to instill a kind of a learning mechanism for people to understand that you could do better with acoustics. You can create better experiences. You can create much better clubs, you know, and more enjoyable clubs for people to be at. I've spent nights and mornings here. You know, it's
thousands of people all watching that beautiful sunrise, right?
Oh yeah, the most beautiful sunrise I've ever seen in the club, personally.
And over the years, as we're talking with Woody's, you know, currently thinking about expanding over to the Gulf. I know that you already do consulting for several projects, home theaters, I believe, as well, for all across the Gulf. Do you do more business now outside the country, and how long has that been happening for?
It's been happening for a long time. We set up our office in Dubai 7 years ago already.
That many years passed.
Yeah, because of the market here is small. At the end of the day, even in its best time, there's only so much for a consulting firm to do. We design to build a club, but then our work is done. There's only so much, and you know better than me, like
Sure.
the mass of the club, the clubbers here. So naturally, we had to expand outside of Lebanon, and we started taking projects in Dubai until we saw the need to set up office there. And trust me, today, you look at me, I tell you this was the luckiest move we've ever done. But I have to stress that it was from here that we went there. It wasn't, our base is not in Dubai, our base is in Beirut. And it is Beirut that allowed us to be extrapolated outside of this market, and that I owe, there's a lot of credit that goes to Beirut for that. We wouldn't have been as recognizable as quickly as if we were in another country. It would have taken years for us to be noticed. Whereas here, because of the size of the country, we went immediately, like we had to expand outside. And now I say it was the luckiest thing we've done.
And so for looking into the future, I know, for example, Woody's got great systems from everything from D&B to Function One. Mayor, which is one of my favorites for parties. Now, there's no more budget for anybody to rent the Mayor no more. But one of the challenges that you're facing, and I'm quite sure this is it, is we've had a currency crisis that's been ongoing for about a year, but it got really bad 4 or 5 months ago. So what is that doing to the business?
It's super
crazy.
bad in terms of spare parts. Like you can't get spare parts anymore because it costs a lot. Like in terms of currency, and first of all, the promoters can't like rent speakers out with the new dollars rate. Like the new dollars rate is like it's huge, so they can't rent out those speakers at that rate. And the problem is we can't repair those speakers anymore. We used to remove and exchange drivers every 1 year or 2 years, and now we can't do that anymore. So it's a hard time to be here. Like as Fouad also knows, like with every spare parts, because we get spare parts from them also.
And the discounts are it's impossible because you got to get fresh dollars out of the country. And this is a problem that's been happening even before August 4th. August 4th just exacerbated the situation, made it a lot worse. So even the last time I saw you at one of these events in the mountains, we were having a good time too. We spoke about how, if you take the current dollar rate, you're pretty much renting a whole sound system for the equivalent of about $30 or $40. Where we would do that for $500. Like you don't even cover the DJ, fee with that.
No, you can't. And plus nowadays, like you can't upgrade. For example, the Pioneers are getting a new system,
CDJ 3000, which just came out.
So we can't upgrade anymore.
It's tough times. And I know that you also do long-term rentals too for many venues. You've done that over the years as well.
Yep.
What were the clubs and
we rent out for for Factory, even Gärten before they got their own system. But mainly those are the main clubs, the main big clubs. But also everything got destroyed now with the clubs, like the speakers,
the dance floor, the cables. I mean, we're walking around here before we started recording, and we can actually see that
it's a war zone.
Cables just pretty much everywhere we are right here.
It's a war zone.
Yeah. So if we were to talk about things that happened after the 4th, I mean, we were already kind of, headed down this dark stairway, to reach where we are now. And then obviously August 4th came, and if we were sitting right here, we probably would not have survived, I mean, the port is just about 1,000 meters away from where we are. How did things transition for Fouad, for example, for you? You were already kind of making your way out of the local markets. How much worse did it become after August 4th?
It's inexistent. Work here is inexistent at the moment. Could you imagine refurbishing something like that? I mean, if I was honestly, the damage, the extent of the damage is huge. And I cannot see that how a company like 21dB would, first of all, capitalize on something like that. And for that, I would say that even for all my friends and my dear friends, the club owners, we would do anything that is required for free, to be able to get them back on track. That's the minimum that we would do. And that, forget about it. I mean, I'm forgetting about Lebanon for work. It's the situation before the August 4 was already unbearable. There was already no work. And now with this hardship, can you imagine like me coming in as a company saying, yeah, guys, okay, you want to refurbish, here's our consultancy fees. Fuck that. They're part of the family. So we would do anything we can to help them get back on their feet if they are willing to get back on their feet. Honestly, I cannot see how they would even think that.
They'd probably be reluctant to as well because the issues again pre-August 4th. There's been so many issues that have built up, and we've yet to solve any of them. I mean, at least the nation, the politicians, and all of them have yet to solve anything. So why would any of the current owners want to even try to reinvest, even think about it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I cannot see any way out of it. I think our parents thought the same thing, and they're still thinking the same thing today. It'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better. I mean, we were going down on a downward hill, and we're like, how worse can it get? August 4. It can't get worse, guys. What the fuck?
It's like an endless loop since the 70s.
Yeah.
It is kind of an endless cycle, but we have seen great years. We've all worked together on many club nights and events and concerts with thousands of people. I mean, so the hardest thing now is because we have no more outlook of the future, it's harder for us specifically who are very heavily involved in the scene to accept that, we don't see where we're going from this, right? Like we have no outlook of the future, right?
No. We're kind of blocked.
Yeah.
We're kind of blocked. Like, the promoters are blocked. Like, it's even when you look in their eyes, like the spark is gone. Like no one wants to go and party in those dark days. But we will reach a point that we will party again. Like back in the days when we went out after the war, like when Fouad used to play keyboard with his doom band, it was like all like rubble, and that's how concerts were made. Like we can create an underground scene. We will prevail.
Sure, I hope so. Right. But how do you see the future? How do you see a recovery from this point onwards? I mean, what would it take to recover? Because, I mean, at the moment, here we are, over 40 days, a month and a half, coming up to 2 months now. And things were already kind of shut down before that, with the pandemic problems that we had. And now we've reached a point where it's, if we were to, create a little Disney movie and, create magic, and a fantasy, what do you think are the first steps for everything to slowly recover?
We're going to step a little bit on the sideline here, and I think there is no nation. There is no such thing as a nation. The people say there's no nationality. Yeah, guys, there's no fucking nation. What would you love if there's no nation? So the first thing that we do, we build a fucking nation. That's how we move forward.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think Lebanese people deserve a nation. I don't deserve a nation. You don't deserve a nation. He doesn't deserve a nation. We haven't done anything to be able to deserve something like that. We have to just, get our shit together and do something. Otherwise, we just let this piece of land go and we move somewhere else. That's my opinion.
No optimism whatsoever. It's all
I
gone.
used to be the most optimistic person.
I remember we both were. Even when you were in Scotland, you talked about how much you miss Lebanon, and you'd come back
came
for
here.
Christmas.
I set up business here.
Yeah.
For what? I could have stayed in the UK with a postdoctoral position in the university, which was offered. No, I decided to come here. Do some work, try to help, to do something. You get slapped and slapped and knocked and slapped and knocked, and then what? And then what?
Yeah. That's the endless loop we were talking about. Like our parents had it. They stayed here. They built here. We tried to move out. We built here, and then.
Same cycle over and over again.
Slapped.
We're losing the drive to contribute. We're losing the drive to contribute to this because I honestly, personally, don't have any rapport with it anymore. What is this thing that I'm trying to help? What is it? Is it helping me? Is it doing me any good? Absolutely not.
Yeah. And again, like I'm saying, that because we've been through such great times, we had great years. It was slowly being eaten away, right? Even before 2019, before any of these protests, before there was a slowdown in the system that happened around 2015, 16. I mean, like you're saying, Woody, it's a cycle, but we were on a kind of top of the wave. Yeah, we were kind of on a better wave.
We were afloat.
A better wave, obviously.
We were afloat.
How much worse can it possibly get? Because we seem to be rock bottom right now.
We hit
the clubs are gone. The only happiness we have is going to people's houses and having little dinners. And even then, people want to leave early. And it's going to take a lot to rebuild this spirit, don't you think? It's tough. Sometimes.
In crisis, I think some things prevail and flourish. the art scene, the clubbing scene, they always flourish from the. I mean, we've lived them. You know,
Yeah, of
we've been
course.
through the first wave. That's the second wave.
And we had a
No,
Beirut,
actually,
Beirut
it's
techno
the
party.
third
The
wave.
third wave.
It's actually
Yeah.
it's the third
Yeah.
wave.
We had a Beirut techno parade, if you remember, in
Yes,
2002
yes,
or 2003 with these
2002,
trucks going down.
Yeah.
Those same roads are the ones that are always on the news whenever there's protests, people throwing rocks and
I
stuff.
was DJing on one of those
on
trucks.
those trucks, yeah. That was. You still had hair then, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's why it's harder. The new generation probably, they've only heard stories. They've only probably seen a few digital pictures. We didn't have digital cameras to capture as much as we have over the last few years, and so it's just so sad how globally things have been taken away, but specifically here we're feeling it much worse than anywhere else. And being in the supplier business, I mean, you guys are probably the first ones, who got hit in the first place because, there's no more rental, there's no more events. I remember Woody would have 5 or 6 events a night. You'd have a rock concert at Wicker Park, and you'd have something in
wedding.
Fareya, a wedding here, a private party that I'd be doing at a house party at a beach somewhere. And now, when you get that one phone call, for a party that's happening next month and they're negotiating prices to go low, it really is sad because the amount of capital that's been injected into both your businesses is almost impossible to even think about returning at the moment. So
Impossible.
Yeah.
It is impossible actually to return it. It's my 21dB here is not a money-making company. It has never. It doesn't have a savings account. It has never had enough money to be comfortable enough to invest, other than paying our dues. And having expanded abroad is the only thing that allowed us to be able to have a base that can help. And it's helping Lebanon. My employees currently today are being paid by the Dubai company.
and so they do a lot of the computer engineering work here,
Yeah.
a lot of the design work here,
and they're working
clients
for
abroad.
Dubai because there's no work here.
Yeah.
So we're lucky in a way to be able to find the system to support even the guys that we work with. But other than that, it's hell here. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. We're a luxury service. At the end of the day, think about it. Somebody nearly got punched by me the other day for coming and saying, "Masaibu qawmin and qawmin fawaidu." The misery of some is the benefit of others, or whatever. I looked at him.
Who's benefiting?
I was like,
What are you saying?
are you fucking serious? Do you think I'm gonna benefit from all of this? Yeah, whatever. So yeah, I'm sitting here. I'm sad. I'm freaking sad. I'm looking at this. I went through to Arm and had to walk around, and my heart. I was with Woody, and my heart was like, Woody, I didn't come here for a reason. And before, and he said something, that you can't escape reality. You can only escape it for so long, and it's devastating.
Yeah.
Seeing Arm is devastating. I mean, the damage that was done there is like, you can see from wall to wall, through the 2 walls, all the acoustic panels that
blown out.
are blown
Everything
out.
blown
Here,
out.
look at the
Yeah.
structure.
The
It's gone.
speakers
And this
are
was all
blown
made.
out.
And this was all made with local products. I believe
Everything
as well.
was made,
Everything
even
was made
Arm.
locally.
Everything was made locally, even before the problem of importing. We were supporting the local market and creating mega structures that created acoustic environments that were clinical, that were beautiful. I remember here at the dance floor, I've stood here many times, and Arm as well, and you hear this beautiful sound coming in and all gone. It's like, this is our work. These are projects that we've done. We've done a series about these projects. But behind the music, it's like we explored all of this. You can't imagine how hard it is for me sitting here. You cannot.
Pouring your heart out into a project and just seeing it come down. It's like building
like
a
your
castle
baby.
and
It's
the wave comes and takes it down, right? The same thing for you, Woody, because I know that you guys have had, apart from the long-term rentals that you've had, it was just the excitement of always going out to a different event. Oh, we're going to drive to some area. On Google Maps doesn't even know where the location is sometimes.
It's your baby. It's like your events are your babies. Like when you install your speakers, your lighting, when you do your setup, it's like you're giving something, and now it's all blown out. Oof. Bah.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because I mean, we know these events that we've done, these spontaneous little random events. Were the only relief of stress that we've had. Even if it was maybe not more than 150, 200 people, especially the last few months. And then now there's just zero positivity, zero atmosphere of people even being encouraged to want to do that anymore.
No, but I think the underground scene will flourish now. Like we will have those kind of parties, and the scene will restart to grow up.
Like drink to forget, and that's always been the case.
Yeah,
It's always been the case.
Just like the war years, apparently.
Yeah.
We used to hear from our parents, you know, like, oh, in the war, you know, even while there was bullets flying down, we would still go and party. But
Yeah, but you do it for a reason.
You do
Yeah.
it for a reason.
What do you party for? Really?
You forget.
forget
Really?
and to relieve the stress, right?
on.
But even our parents and even our the older senior citizens, our grandparents, say that nothing was as close to the magnitude of what we had to face here on August 4th. And everybody remembers where they were, what they were doing. But it was only even now, you know, almost 2 months later, we're still absorbing all this that happened. And when we drive around during the day, even my wife and me try not to drive around because, like you're saying, it hurts to see. Or even at nighttime, driving through some certain areas of Beirut and it's complete blackness, just like Solidaire was in '91. You know, so we're like Woody said, we're back into a cycle. But if we look back at the past, maybe we can find a way to find some optimism of some sort. You know, maybe it's a rebuild time, a reorganized time, like you're saying, start from ground zero and rebuild all over again.
Honestly, I look around, and I have a small comment to do. It happened to me on the drive here a lot today because it's the first time that I drive way into the devastated zone. And look around you. What survived, guys? Look at the greenery. Look at the trees.
The trees.
None of them have fallen.
We have a bird that's on top of us who's probably going to take a shit on me any second.
And the
now.
structure.
Yeah, nature takes back.
Nature survived. Nature survives this.
Yeah.
Look, the greenery is still around.
Yeah,
you know, we're
that's
sitting
true.
in a devastated metal structure, and greenery is fine.
And the birds are laying nests.
And the birds are laying nests just over your head.
I think if there's any lesson to be learned, it's exactly that. Actually, I personally have embraced that 6 months ago. I moved out of the city completely.
You said that was pretty much all it takes. And I mean, even our families, you know, like Woody's got family as well, whose house was
The house was destroyed.
completely
in Madam
destroyed.
Khaira.
Because his parents, you were raised in that house, I believe.
Yeah, I was
remember,
raised in that house.
Yeah.
But you know, during wartime, it's a wartime. So you know, we had the malja.
Yeah,
You
the
just go,
basement, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you,
the
you
shelter
go to
underground.
that basement, and that's it. The bombs fall in. Okay, you survive. Done. You live another day. But now we're not in a war. We aren't in a war.
We should not
But-
expect this,
Yeah, we shouldn't expect this.
or have to live it at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Because everyone around the world is, you know, dealing with, you know, club closures and bar closures and, you know.
COVID.
They're also dealing with a change. I mean, Berlin is a scene that we're heavily involved in as well. We've done projects there, and the clubs are transforming into performance and art spaces. So that we have to be clever a little bit about it. We cannot just say, we cannot just cry wolf. You know, like
Of course.
if we have to recreate and rejuvenate the scene, it has to be done in a different way. That's the only way. And Berliners have managed. I mean, they're masters at this, and they managed to transform their clubs into venues that are more catered to, rather than the economic problems they're facing, the COVID problems. But I mean, it's quite interesting to see how adaptable the places are as well. So that could be an outlet for us to get back on our feet. You know?
It's true because, you know, Beirut's been through so much, but now that the whole world is in this together, and again, Beirut is like always at the center of focus, like, oh, look what happened in that city. Oh, did you hear about that? Did you hear that?
The whole world has a COVID problem. Like we have a COVID problem, plus a bomb problem, plus
Plus an
economic
economic-
problem,
Political.
plus
Mafia, breaking away from the mafia.
How worse can it go? It can get worse. It can get worse. We're still sitting here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you and I, we're still driving. We were still able to drive our cars and get here.
That's true.
You know, it can get worse. That's the problem. And I don't know. I mean, how long can people take it? You know.
That's true because many of our friends have actually already left. I mean, over the years they've left, but now there's another wave.
now
brain
there's a
drain.
massive
Brain drain.
exodus.
Brain
Yeah.
drain.
We were talking earlier as well how there's also a whole new scene of, you know, upcoming DJs who we've never seen, never heard of before, who are also infiltrating the scene, which is cool because you might have some great options out there. But at the end of the day, the brain drain continues. The friends who've told you over the years, why don't you get out? Why don't you move? Why don't you ship over your products? And now, after all these years, he kept saying no.
No. It's a yes, yes,
Say
yes.
yes.
Please get me out.
Yeah, it's tough for us all, man.
Yeah, but we started here. You know, we love it. Like that's why I love it. Like before, our friends like were like, go out. You need to go out. Go start over. Start in Dubai. Start everywhere. And no, like here the scene was growing, and there was like a brotherhood even. It was tight, and then it expanded. Now it's so whoosh,
And we
it's
lost
like a
it
black
all.
hole.
Yeah. And it's true because
Literally, it's a black
it's
hole.
a black hole. But our geography is really good because we're such a small nation, right? So almost anywhere we go, we always know people. Where when we do gigs abroad, obviously you only probably know 5 or 6 people in a crowd of 1,000. So that's really one thing that makes it so special here. And I mean, again, it's very hard to see any kind of resolution anytime soon. I do believe what Fouad said was right, though. If we can find a way to break the whole system down and start from scratch, let nature take over, maybe then we can find some relief.
I think that's the only way, honestly.
You agree with
We're far from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a bigger nuke will do. To be honest.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it, guys. It's been great talking to you again.
Same here.
The years of great events, the ups, the downs. This is by far the hardest and the most hurt that we've ever been. And it's just really good that we've been able to talk about this, in person, rather than voice noting back and forth, or seeing what people are posting on social media. Getting to talk to each other is really optimal for us, at least, because we can look back at this, I don't know, maybe next year and say, hey, well, did things indeed get worse, or did we find rock bottom? Build a new foundation.
I'm not gonna put any money on that bet.
Guys, really appreciate you guys coming to Rendezvous Beirut. This really means a lot to everyone here, and really hope the insight you gave is fantastic. And can only hope for the best, brothers. Only hope for the best.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.